I'm hearing all kind of stories flying around and people coming up with all kind of excuses for why Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz. I've heard some people say that AJ was poisoned or something. And the latest thing I'm hearing is some people claiming that AJ was concussed going into the Andy Ruiz fight and that his dad was angry at Eddie Hearn. And this is what you can see here on screen right now is AJ's dad here. And he is apparently, venting his anger at Eddie Hearn, and AJ just basically trying to keep his dad away from Eddie Hearn. Because the rumor is that AJ was concussed before the fight. AJ's dad wanted AJ to pull out of the fight, but Eddie Hearn said, no, the show must go on, and convinced AJ to, continue. And so now that AJ's been knocked out, the dad is angry with Hearn. Now look, I don't know whether that's true or not, but the bottom line is, let's not take credit away from Andy Ruiz. I don't know whether AJ was concussed in the fight or whatever happened to him in the build-up. Was there factors that led to him underperforming? I don't know. But understand that regardless of whether AJ was concussed or not, he had the vast majority of advantages over Andy Ruiz. Yes, the fight was in the United States, but it might as well have been in the UK because the security was British, the promoter was British, most of the crowd was British. Of course, you got the New York State Athletic Commission, but when you're looking at who had most of the advantages, AJ had most of the advantages. It was a pro-AJ crowd. Andy Ruiz was the one going into the Lions Den. How do we know that Ruiz had a perfect camp? I mean, Ruiz has already given up height and reach. He's already carrying about, 20, 30 pounds of excess body fat, lugging that around the ring with him. AJ's 6'6", ain't got an ounce of fat on him. AJ might not have had a perfect camp. I don't know. But how can we say Ruiz had a perfect camp? Ruiz went into the Lions Den. Ruiz got up off the floor from being dropped by a tremendous left hook. And he fought back like a warrior. Can we give the guy some credit? It's very rare for any fighter to go into the ring 100%. Without any kind of niggle or injury. It's very rare. They usually go into the ring with something which can affect their performance. But that's the same for the opponent. And particularly, as I say, when this was an AJ show, when everything in this show was set up for AJ to win. When Andy Ruiz is giving up height, reach, lugging around all that extra body fat, and experience too in terms of top quality fights and world championship fights, AJ had way more experience. Can AJ be better in a rematch? Maybe. It remains to be seen. But I just don't like this thing where people are trying to act as though Ruiz doesn't deserve any credit. It kind of reminds me of when Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. People coming out with all these excuses for Mike Tyson. No, Buster Douglas beat a prime Mike Tyson. Yes, he did. Was that Mike Tyson's best ever performance? Had he been sharper in other fights? No, it wasn't his best performance, and yes, he had been sharper in other fights. But Mike Tyson was 22, 23? Reigning world heavyweight champion? Those were his prime years, and he lost to Buster Douglas, and you get all these people all these years later giving Buster Douglas all this criticism, saying, he got lucky. No, he didn't get lucky. He fought his heart out, and he did tremendously well, and showed a lot of talent and grit. And ability, and let's be real. So let's not do the same. Let's not do Andy Ruiz dirty the way people did Buster Douglas dirty. Let's not do that. Let's give him his credit. Let's give him his respect. Yeah? As much as AJ might not have gone into the ring 100%, who's to say Andy Ruiz did? And, Dave Allen actually, in a Boxing Social interview, said that he thought AJ looked like someone who'd been knocked out in sparring. Now, we know that Dave Allen is kind of a matchroom guy, and if he has knowledge of AJ being knocked out in sparring, he might not come out right and say AJ got knocked out in sparring. So it might be a roundabout way of saying AJ got knocked out in sparring. But then again, people have pointed to AJ's face and there's a scar on his face and people are saying, where did that scar come from? All kind of different things flying around. I mean, that's for AJ to sort out, get himself right if there is any kind of issue there. But trust me, people, fighters get dropped and knocked out in sparring all the time. And it's not ideal because, if you get knocked out in an actual fight, they actually suspend your license, depending on how violent the knockout is. They actually suspend you from fighting for a number of weeks, sometimes months. Whereas if you get knocked out in a gym, then go into a fight, it's like, you haven't been suspended and it can be a dangerous situation. But trust me, there are people who have been knocked out in sparring and they go into the fight and still win at championship level. It happens. Yeah. And of course, the opposite happens. I remember when Lennox Lewis got knocked out by Oliver McCall, there were strong rumors coming out that Lewis had been flattened in sparring by Garing Lane, who was one of Lewis's sparring partners. Garing Lane, coincidentally, was a big fat guy, not too dissimilar in terms of body shape and proportions to Andy Ruiz. And they were saying Lewis had been flattened in sparring by Garing Lane, who actually fought on the Lewis McCall undercard. Garing Lane did. Who did he fight on that? I think he fought Corey Sanders on the undercard, if I'm not mistaken, the Lewis McCall undercard. But either way, that was a situation where the rumor was Lewis had been knocked out in sparring by Garing Lane, went in the ring and got knocked out by McCall too. So, who knows what the truth is, but I can assure you there are fighters who get knocked out in sparring and then they go into the ring and they still perform and win. Yeah, you would be amazed at the number of top fighters who end up getting dropped and knocked out in sparring. You'd be amazed. But they have this sparring code where, you're not supposed to, whatever happens in sparring stays in sparring. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about Vitaly Klitschko because somebody posted in my Facebook boxing group about the greatest heavyweight chins of all time. And they put Klitschko up in the conversation, Vitaly Klitschko. And I said, well, Klitschko has actually been knocked out before and dropped. Obviously, he got knocked out in kickboxing by Pele Reed, but he was even stopped in the amateurs by Oleg Muskayev. And I know Klitschko always denied it, but he denied being knocked out by Pele Reed too until the footage came out and proved that he was lying. And Muskayev and many other people have maintained that Muskayev did stop him. And if you look at the records, you go to the Wikipedia or any site, you'll find that Muskayev stopped Klitschko in 2 rounds. Yeah. But anyway, there was a rumor as well that Vitaly Klitschko had been dropped in sparring by Freza Kendo of all people. And of course, the instant reaction is that, that's got to be a load of rubbish. There's no way Freza, he's not even a puncher. He can't drop Vitaly Klitschko in sparring. People, trust me, weird stuff happens in sparring. Okay, because fighters do far more rounds of sparring in their careers than they're ever going to do in a professional ring. And when you're doing, over the course of a career, hundreds and hundreds of rounds of sparring, I mean, sometimes thousands of rounds of sparring, anomalies are going to take place. Dudes who shouldn't be able to drop you. You might be tired. You might have been in with 4 other sparring partners and the 5th one comes in. You're knackered. He's fresh. You get dropped. Like, stuff happens. It's brutal, actually, in the gyms with the sparring. So, who knows what really happened? But what happened in the Ruiz sparring sessions? He basically did back-to-back camps for Anthony Joshua. Well, that's back-to-back punishment that he's taken. Yeah, he had the camp for Dimitrenko, a week off, then he had the camp for Anthony Joshua. Who knows how many concussions he got? And you don't have to necessarily get knocked down to get a concussion. You can get a concussion standing up. Same goes for AJ. So, let's not make out as though, it's only AJ that had adversity coming into this fight. We don't know what adversity Andy Ruiz had going into the fight either. So, let's be fair about it. Let's give Andy Ruiz the credit. And, people can explore what's going on behind the scenes. But look, hindsight is 20/20. Yeah. When things go wrong, people want to start pointing fingers. But if Anthony Joshua had won the fight if he'd hit Andy Ruiz with that left hook and Ruiz had stayed down, or if AJ's follow-ups had, managed to knock Andy Ruiz out cold. Do you think AJ's dad would be angry? Do you think we'd even be talking here about AJ having a concussion? No. AJ was a punch or two away from winning the fight. And if that had happened, nobody would be pointing any fingers and blaming anybody. Nobody would be coming up with different theories as to, AJ got spiked or this happened or that happened. We'd forget about the fact that AJ, looked a little weird coming to the ring and a bit weird, and we'd forget about all that. So let's give credit where credit's due. Let's hammer them out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.